Some people are saying that Wonder Woman is one of the best films of the year. Other people are saying that it's trash, just like the rest of the DC films. I'm going to explain my actual stance on this film. Before I'd say it, it's somehow taken me a month to give my opinion on something. Wow. Wonder Woman is DC and Warner Bros. Fourth film made this year. It's directed by Patty Jenkins, written by Alan Heinberg, Jason Fuchs, and... oh god. It also stars Gal Gadot, Chris Pine, Danny Huston, Connie Nielsen, and David Thewlis. Now I'm sure you can tell that I'm not the most enthusiastic person when it comes to the DCEU, but I saw the trailers, looked at the cast, and I was interested enough to see this film at the cinema. Not only was it the first female-led superhero movie in the new comic book era, but the bar was set pretty low. And it was also said to, quote, save the DCEU. And god, that's something that needed saving. Now, Suicide Squad had good trailers, but it sucked, and I was looking forward to Batman v Superman, and it sucked. And so I was very skeptical with Wonder Woman. But with that said, Wonder Woman is actually good. So that means DC's at 1 to 3, so I guess it hasn't saved the DCEU. And it's not a great film either. Marvel's got like 5 great films, 7 good films, and 3 bad films. DC's got 1 good film and 3 bad ones. So DC, don't worry, you're catching up. You've got as many bad films as them now. Now all you need to do is just fill in the mediocre ones and you've got it. In fact, that's a good comparison I've got. This is essentially a Marvel film. I'd say it's probably, in my opinion, like, you know, it's roughly the same as Captain America the First Avenger in my eyes in terms of quality. And with that said, there's a difference. You see, there's a difference between good and great. Now, Wonder Woman isn't a great film. It's not a bad film, though. It's a good one, and I'll explain that. So, let's get to the things I like. Gal Gadot, or Gadot, I don't know. She was surprisingly good, actually. When she was given good enough dialogue, she really shone in this film and was a good lead. Better than Henry Cavill, am I right? As for Chris Pine, he's great as well. Overall, the best parts of the film to me are the fish out of water and stuff and dialogue scenes between these two characters. Their romance felt legitimate, and for me, it felt just very genuine, which is something that you don't normally see in these comic book films anymore. It has to be forced or something else, and their relationship really did make the film for me. In fact, as a whole, there's some pretty solid performances, and I think that's down to direction. This film has decent direction. Visually, this film isn't well directed, but I think in terms of working with actors, it's really good. Set design is really good as well. I like the design choices and aesthetics of the time quite a lot, and as a result, it came to some very unique imagery. Now, as I said, the director is good with working with actors. Most of the performances and characters are pretty good. In particular, the Warriors 3, as I like to call them. The Middle Eastern guy was my favourite. He was funny, he did everything he was meant to. There was the Scottish guy. He was real funny as well, but they added in the weird thing of him seeing ghosts that went absolutely nowhere. And as for the Native American guy, he was very good at acting like someone who was terrible at acting. So yeah. And I realised I just said it. This film was funny. Humour. You don't know how important that is for DC. It took them 3 years to learn it and they finally made a funny film. You can get entertainment from the film regardless of everything else, because essentially Wonder Woman is, as I said, a Marvel film. It's full of humour, it has the same strengths, as in, it's got a good lead character, it's real funny, it has some really good designs, and they also have the same negatives, which actually leads me to the next point. reasons it ain't perfect. I mean, I already said that the Middle Eastern guy didn't act very well. A couple of other things. Connie Nielsen and Robin Wright, they were in the movie, and they were good and all, but they were given very generic and boring dialogue. Little character development as well on them. On that front, you know what? I don't consider it a spoiler to say who the villain is. But if you do think it's a spoiler, then just leave the review. It's good. And now, let me move on with this. The main villain of the film is Ares. Now, they got a good actor to play Ares. But God, Ares was butchered. They gave him some sort of generic plot thing. You know, I never got what he was trying to accomplish. I never got what he was trying to do. I never got what his point was, or why he was doing things. In fact, he says at one point that he's not affecting things, but then a minute later, he is affecting things. It doesn't make any sense. He was very one-note, flip-flopped around the place with generic dialogue that just felt like he was just shoehorned in because they needed a villain for the third act. Other villains as well. I mean, Dr. Poison was ridiculously over the top, and there was a guy that snorted cocaine, and he became a super villain. That was a truly epic villain thing. In general, the villains are pretty one-dimensional. Hey, I'm a Nazi general. Hey, I'm good with poison and I'm German. And I also look like Phantom of the Opera. You know, and they were given like really little character development and like really poor dialogue. In fact, I'll just say this about dialogue. Unless it's said by Wonder Woman, Steve Trevor, or the soldiers. Fortunately, they're in the film a lot, though, so I guess it isn't as frequent that this dialogue's bad, but for all the other characters, the dialogue is pretty darn bad. As I said, it's infrequent, and in fact the film is reasonably engaging. However, this is my main issue. The third act. Now, I'm not gonna spoil anything. Like, how engaging. The end fight was pretty bad. I'll say this. I mean, it wasn't really a fight either. It was more a CG light show with very few stakes and a shoved-in villain. Oh yeah, CGI, by the way, awful. There's a moment where it looked like it could be for a perfume advert. It looked like the effects were rendered in... Well, they weren't really rendered in detail or in focus, so it just didn't look very real. It looked fan-made, if anything. Most of the fight scenes were good, I'll give them that, they're cool. Until... I kid you not. She jumps into a building, and then she comes out completely unscathed with no dust on her or anything. She's fine. That's only one action scene. The others are ruined by this. Never fits, man. It just never fits. Like, the music's cool. The Wonder Woman theme is cool. The rest of the film's music can die in a hole. I don't remember a single part of it. But it never ever fits. It feels very forced, and it's all because of the heavy metal, electric guitar, electric cello, electric bass. That it just sounds like... It sounds like it's fan-made, almost. Like someone's replaced the music. It just doesn't work. Another thing that I've only just noticed, way too much slow-mo in the film. And that's saying something. This film wasn't directed by Zack Snyder. A couple of other things. For a start, the secretary I found to be extremely irritating. She's very unnecessary, very annoying. She just didn't need to be there. Visually, the film, like, I don't remember a single shot from the film. There's just nothing really there, to be honest. And then back to the positives. I like the story, I like the costumes, I like the beginning and middle acts, but the end really sucks, and because of that, I'm really struggling behind the rating I'm going to give Wonder Woman. I'm struggling between a 5.5 and a 6 out of 10. And you know what? I'll give a 6 out of 10, and then a 5 out of 10 when I get to the spoiler section of this. So yeah, 6 out of 10. It has a mostly good story, well fleshed out leads, good dialogue and humour, and has a great vibe to it, but it's bogged down by forgettable villains, occasional bad dialogue, and a terrible third act. I'm gonna give Wonder Woman a 6 out of 10. So I'm gonna get to spoilers now. So if you haven't seen the film, or you don't want to know any spoilers about it, then I advise you leave now. You have been warned. Right, you gone? Okay. For a start, I feel that the thing with Diana being a weapon or some pathetic conventional stuff like that, that was really conventional. That really annoyed me. And I could tell through most of the film that was obviously like a red herring. But it wasn't much of a mystery. They kind of just threw it in there. Yeah, there we go. Oh, the ending. Okay, here's the thing with the reveal of Ares. Making him an English gentleman, surprisingly, isn't gonna help the film. And then he's like saying stuff like, oh, I'm not doing any effect. Then he dies and he has a huge effect. And then there's stuff like, him making scrap metal into a suit. They don't even have a fight, if you've seen the film. You know this. They don't fight at all. They kind of just punch each other for a bit. And then when Chris Pine dies, I felt something, but the editing wasn't very good for that moment. And I also, I mean, I did feel something, but it definitely wasn't because of Diana going, no! When can that convention just leave? Just stop. Oh, god damn it. Antiope was a cool character for the 5 minutes she was in. I felt something when she died. She didn't have a huge... She didn't add a huge amount to the film, but... yeah, she worked. Lastly, Danny Houston. This is the biggest problem I have. Danny Houston. So Ludendorff is dead. And naturally, Diana is very confused. Why hasn't this changed anything? Then Steve Trevor comes in and says, well, look... People are more complicated than that. Like, that's perfect. You know, if they'd have kept it as she actually kills Ares, and then Chris Pine's like, no, humans are more complicated than this. And then, I don't know, they just bombard the World War I front line, defeat all the Germans, end World War I. That would be a very satisfying ending, and it would be a very different comic book ending. But, no, instead... what we get was a CGI light show mess. And then Ares is murdered. I thought that was a really neat change, if you ask me. It feels so like ham-fisted. Let's see. I despise the ending of it. It had the grasp to be something greater than a comic book film. It had the grasp to be worth that 93%. I wouldn't be giving it a 5.5 or a 6. I'd be giving it a 7, an 8, maybe even a 9. If that ending was just fixed so much. But no, you've gotta really have room for that thrown in Ares cameo, because that's what you need. Not characters, you just need cameos. Instead of watching this film, watch Lego Batman, which is a really good parody of other DC films, or Logan, which is known to be one of the best like comic book films of all time, or Guardians of the Galaxy 2, which is just a load more fun than this film is. And that has a lot of problems as well. Wonder Woman can wait, if you ask me. See them first. Spider-Man Homecoming's coming out now, and that's getting great reviews. And I won't be seeing it for another 2 weeks because I'm away for this weekend, which is lovely. I mean, I know I'm nitpicking a bit too much here. It was good. I'll remember a couple of things from it. I'm glad it doesn't tie into the DCEU much. But Wonder Woman just won't go down as anything by the end of the film. Maybe it's just me saying this, but people all around are saying People say that DC is redeemed. No, no, no. Like, they made a good film. Big deal. Like, Fast and Furious has one good film. But I still hate the franchise. Does that mean I'm wrong? I don't know. Like, not one of them are to a perfect level, if you ask me. Right, according to DC people, Rotten Tomatoes reviews, they don't matter when people are rightfully hammering Suicide Squad and Batman v Superman. You know, that website is just wrong. But then they're perfectly right when it comes to Wonder Woman and giving it phenomenal reviews. Like, come on, at least keep consistency. Admit you enjoyed the film, but admit the flaws. It's kind of just common sense, really. It's just, it has 93%, and then there are people who now say that Marvel needs to reevaluate its films. What? I mean, they made Wonder Woman. The only difference is they haven't made it. Oh wait, they're making two. Technically two. They're definitely doing one female-led film. Oh yeah, they've also got a female-led TV show as well. Well, that's convenient, isn't it? Let's just come on. Like, Marvel is an $11 billion+ franchise with hit after hit and fans that no matter what just like them for some reason. The most recent one, the most recent Marvel film has outgrossed Wonder Woman. So yeah, just shut up. Don't get me wrong. Wonder Woman is good, but it's nothing close to perfect. And that's where I'll end the video here. So Wonder Woman, 5.5 to 5. It's not 5.5 to 6 out of 10. It's definitely an improvement, but not much of an improvement. So anyway, let me know what you think of Wonder Woman in the comments below, because I'm probably going to get some hate off my opinion here. And with that said, I'm going to end the video here. So for a start, check out my Twitter, at MrChicken4321, and also check out my gaming channel, MrChicken167. And if you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. And I will see you guys later. Bye-bye.